Chapter 28, Held in Check. Time skip, Charm's class. Hayley walks into Charm's class with Iris as they took their seats. Iris took her seat next to Hayley. "Are you okay? I mean, after what happened in the library." Hayley looks over to Iris, and she thinks for a moment before nodding. Hopefully. It wasn't a lie, but it wasn't the truth either. Before Iris could respond, a sharp tap, tap, tap echoed through the room. Professor Flitwick hopped up onto his stack of books at the front, smiling brightly. "Good afternoon, everyone. Wands at the ready, please." The chatter died down as the students straightened in their seats. "Today," Flitwick continued, "we'll be practicing precision charms, specifically mobiliarbus. This spell is not about strength but control. You will be moving the object, not lifting it, and certainly not throwing it." Hayley looks over to Iris worriedly, but Iris nods to calm her nervous. After Flitwick demonstrates the spell, everyone starts to do the spell. Hayley looks at her wand as she thought about what happened at the end of year 1, and before she came to class in the library, before breathing in and out, and does the spell. Mobiliarbus. Her block slid forward across the desk, smooth and controlled. It jerked at the end, just enough to make her heart stutter before it stops. Besides her, Iris let out a quiet breath. The class continued for the next hour. Blocks glided, books inched across the desks. One student sent theirs skidding straight onto the floor, earning a gentle reminder from Flitwick about wrist movement and focus. Hayley felt her attention fixed on her work. Every spell responded, but one demanded effort, like holding a door shut against rising wind. Whenever her focus slipped, the block vibrated faintly, her magic pushing harder than she wanted it to. Flitwick paused by her desk, watching the block settle perfectly into place. "Excellent control, Miss Potter," he said warmly. Hayley inclined her head, not trusting herself to speak. When Flitwick finally announced, "And that concludes today's lesson," Hayley lowered her wand slowly, her shoulders aching with the effort of restraint. Students packed up, the room filling with sound again as blocks were collected and chairs scraped back. Iris leaned toward her. "You made it through." Hayley allowed herself a small, tired smile as they stood. "Barely." They followed the rest of the class out, the door closing behind them. Getting through the hour hadn't calmed her magic. It had only proven how much attention it demanded to keep it in check. Chapter 29, Not Just a Prank. Time skip, dormitories. Hayley sat on one of the couches with her diary open, and she looks over to James and his friends. James, Sirius, Remus, and Peter were huddled near the staircase to the boys' dormitories, heads bent close together. Not their usual loud, reckless huddle. This was different. Sirius wasn't laughing. Not properly, his grin was sharp but focused, calculating. James looked intense, determined. His hands were moving as he spoke in quick, urgent whispers. Remus looked pale, in that tired that had nothing to do with studying type of way. His shoulders were tense, like he was already arguing against whatever James was proposing. Peter stood close, wide-eyed, hanging on every word. Hayley narrowed her eyes slightly. That wasn't prank posture, that was plan posture. Their voices carried in fragments, but too soft to fully catch. "Next year," James murmured, fierce and certain. "It's possible, I've read about it," Sirius added, low and serious in a way he rarely was. Remus' voice cuts in, sharper. "You don't even know what that would mean." Peter swallowed audibly. "If we did it together." Remus shook his head. Hayley could see that much. His expression was tight, conflicted. "It's dangerous." James' reply was immediate, quiet, unshakable. "So are you, every month." The fire popped loudly, swallowing the next words. Hayley frowned. That didn't sound like mischief. That sounded like something else entirely. Sirius clapped James on the shoulder. Firm, decisive. Remus looked like he wanted to protest again, but something in his expression softened. Peter nodded rapidly, as if agreeing before he even knew the full plan. Whatever it was serious. And it was secret. Hayley stared at them for another second before shaking her head lightly. Boys, she thought to herself as she thinks that they're probably planning something that would get them all detention for the rest of their Hogwarts careers. She returned to her diary, though she made a quiet mental note. Whatever it wasn't just a prank. And James looked like he'd already made up his mind. Dear Mom and Dad. 1st June 1974. Gryffindor Tower. I can't believe it's already June. It feels like yesterday it was November, and yet it also feels like a lifetime ago. I suppose that's what growing up feels like. Everything stretches and shrinks at the same time. But something is going on with James. He's talking about something that I couldn't exactly catch. He, Sirius, and Peter were whispering with Remus near the stairs tonight. Not their usual, we're about to prank Filch whispering. It was different. Quieter, Sirius. James had that look on his face. The one he gets when he's decided something and there's no moving him from it. I couldn't hear properly from where I was sitting, but I caught bits. Next year. Possible. Dangerous. And Remus sounded upset, not angry, just worried. James said something that made Remus go very still. I don't know what they're planning, but it isn't harmless, and it isn't small. Part of me wants to march over there and demand to know what they're up to. I'm his sister. I should know if he's about to do something reckless. But another part of me knows that whatever it is, it's about Remus. James has been different where Remus is concerned. Protective in a way that isn't loud or showy. It's quieter, steadier. Like he's decided that if the world tilts even slightly the wrong way, he'll be the one to shove it back into place. I don't think this is about trouble. I think it's about loyalty, which somehow makes it more worrying. He forgets sometimes that he isn't invincible. I suppose that's what brothers do. They charge first and think later. Still, I'll keep an eye on him next year. Year 3 for me, year 4 for him. That feels strange to write. Everything feels like it's shifting, not just classes or exams or houses earning points. Something bigger. Like we're all standing on the edge of growing into people we haven't quite met yet. November taught me that things can change very quickly. Maybe June is teaching me that we can change too. I'm not the same girl who started this year. And I don't think James is the same boy either. I just hope whatever he's planning, he remembers he doesn't have to carry the world by himself. Love always. Hayley. Hayley finishes her writing, and she puts down her diary, but before she could get up, she notices Lily walking over to the girls' dormitories. Hayley also noticed the look on her face, which is mad, and she looks over to James as he walks over to check in on her. Hayley sits up properly. James, did you do something again? James stops in his tracks and looks at her before thinking about something he did, which surprisingly was nothing before he shook his head, which made Hayley raise a brow. I mean, he started slowly, define something. Hayley stared at him. James. He frowned slightly, genuinely confused now. No, I didn't. I haven't done anything, not to Evans or Snape. He gestured vaguely toward the staircase. I was being normal. Hayley looks at him for a second before she sees him getting an idea and looking around. James manages to find Iris and walks over to her. Iris. Iris looks up from her homework and she looks annoyed. I'm not going to sweet-talk my sister for you again. James stops before shaking his head. It's not that. Surprisingly, I didn't do anything, and me and Hayley are confused on why Lily is mad, so I wanted to ask you to check in on your sister. Iris's face slowly changed from annoyed to surprised as she sees the genuine confusion on James's face. Then her eyes flick over to Hayley, who is just as confused before she looks back at James. Okay, fine. She puts away her homework, and she walks up to the girls' dormitories to talk to Lily. Chapter 30, the year it starts to crack. Time skip, Great Hall. The Great Hall was brighter than usual, pouring through the enchanted ceiling and glinting off golden plates. The hum of conversation felt different, lighter, almost restless. The end of term always carried that buzz. Hayley walked in beside Iris. their shoulders brushing as they talked in low voices about Lily. "I just don't understand," Iris murmured. "They used to spend all their time together." Hayley frowned. Something's definitely wrong. That was when Dorcas approached them, arms folded tightly across her chest. Her expression wasn't dramatic. It was annoyed, protective annoyed. "Are we talking about Lily?" she asked bluntly. Hayley nodded immediately. "What's going on?" Dorcas exhaled sharply. "Snape." Iris stiffened slightly, as she remembers that Lily mentioned Snape during her vents. Dorcas leaned in closer so no one else could overhear. "He's drifting, and it's not subtle anymore." Hayley's brows pulled together. "Drifting how?" "The Slytherin boys," Dorcas said flatly. "Mulciber, Avery, all of them. They've been in his ear for months. Dark magic, pure blood nonsense, the whole thing." Iris looked uncomfortable. "He's always been friends with some of them." "Yes," Dorcas replied, "but not like this. He laughs at things he wouldn't have before. He doesn't defend Lily when they make comments, and he started avoiding her." Hayley's stomach twisted. "He's under pressure," Dorcas continued. "You can see it. They're pulling him one way, Lily's pulling him another, and he doesn't want to lose either side." "And my sister?" Iris asked softly. Dorcas' jaw tightened. "She's pretending she doesn't notice, but she does." There was a heavy pause between them. Hayley looked toward the Slytherin table instinctively. Snape was seated there, shoulders slightly hunched, listening to something Avery was saying. He didn't look over once. But she notices that one of his hands is in his pocket and knows that he's still holding on to the drawing. "This is going to explode," Dorcas muttered. Before Hayley could respond, the chatter across the hall began to die down, and Dorcas does a little nod to the girls before heading to her table like the girls did with theirs. Professor Dumbledore had risen. Dumbledore's eyes twinkled behind his half-moon spectacles as he surveyed the students. "Well," he began warmly, "another year draws to a close, a year of triumphs, trails, and I must admit an impressive number of detentions." A ripple of laughter passed through the hall. James and Sirius looked far too pleased with themselves. Dumbledore continued, "The house cups standing have been tallied." The hourglasses lining the walls shimmered as the gems shifted slightly. "In fourth place, Hufflepuff." Polite applause. "In third place, Slytherin." A mixed reaction, some cheers, some groans. "In second place, Ravenclaw." Louder clapping now, and Dumbledore paused deliberately, letting the tension stretch. "And this year's house cup goes to Gryffindor." The red and gold banners overhead burst into brighter color. The Gryffindor table erupted into cheers. James shot to his feet immediately, Sirius right beside him. Remus clapped with a soft smile, while Peter looked like he'd personally won a Quidditch World Cup. Hayley laughed despite herself as Iris squeezed her hand excitedly. Next to Iris, Lily applauded politely, but her smile didn't quite reach her eyes, and Snape didn't clap at all. Time skip, the final feast. Platters of food appeared in dazzling waves. Roasted potatoes, golden pies, glazed carrots, fresh breads, treacle tarts stacked high. The atmosphere shifted fully now. Relief, excitement, the kind of giddy energy that only came from knowing exams were finished and trunks were packed. James stood on the bench at one point and raised a goblet dramatically. "To another year of legendary mischief." "Sit down, Potter," Lily called, though there was reluctant amusement in her tone. Sirius grinned wickedly. "To next year being even worse." Remus sighed. "I'm surrounded by idiots." Peter laughed anyway. Hayley caught Lily watching Snape from across the hall again. And this time, Snape looked back. But only for a second. Then Avery leaned toward him, whispering something that made Snape's expression harden. He looked away first. Lily's shoulders dropped just slightly. Dorcas noticed too. The feast went on. Laughter, plans for summer, promises to write. But underneath it all was the faintest thread of something shifting. Something ending. Time skip, train home. The scarlet train, let out a long whistle as steam billowed into the warm June air. Students hugged friends, promised letters, argued about who would win next year's Quidditch Cup. Hayley leaned out of the compartment window briefly, breathing in the last of the castle-scented air. Iris was beside her, already planning summer outings. Further down the platform, James was animatedly explaining something to Sirius with wild hand gestures. Remus listened, thoughtful as ever. Peter hovered close. Lily stood a little apart. Snape was at the far end of the platform, surrounded by Slytherins. For a moment, just one, Lily and Snape's eyes met across the distance. Neither of them moved. Then the train whistle blew again. Doors shut and the train began to roll forward. As Hogwarts faded behind them, Hayley felt it, the strange weight of growing up settling quietly in her chest. Some friendships strengthened, some cracked. And next year felt like it would change everything.